Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and we have, we have some breaking news on the trade front. The big one has dropped. Timo Meier, or Timo Time, is heading to Newark, New Jersey. A 13-asset trade, a ton of players going each way, 6 players going to the Devils, 7 assets going to the San Jose Sharks. We're going to go over my thoughts on the trade, what I think of it in today's video. So let's start off with the San Jose Sharks. There is a lot involved in this deal, and the conditional draft picks is very confusing, and I'll put it up here throughout the video for you guys. But we're going to start off with those draft picks to get that out of the way. So the San Jose Sharks acquire a conditional first-round pick in 2023, and that's the New Jersey Devils pick. If the pick is a top 2 selection, the New Jersey Devils will instead transfer their own 2024 first-round pick to next season. So this year's pick, if it's a top 2 selection, will end up going next year. So that's the first pick. Then there's a conditional 2024 second-round pick from the Devils, and that condition is if the New Jersey Devils make the Eastern Conference Finals this season and Meier plays in at least 50% of the games, or the New Jersey Devils make the conference finals in next year, in 2024, the pick becomes a first-round pick. So any of those 3 scenarios, if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year or next year, and Timo Meier plays in at least half of those games over the next 2 years, they will get a conditional, another first-round pick. There's also a 2024 7th-round pick, and there is no conditions on that pick. If the 2024 first is top 10, New Jersey have the option to instead transfer it to 2025. So this could eventually be a 2025 first-round pick. Should the Devils transfer their 2023 first to 2024, as it is top 2 to protected, and they make the conference finals in 2024, San Jose will receive a 2025 first-round pick. I'll put this all throughout the video for you guys, but there is a lot of conditions on those 3, or specifically those first 2 draft picks. They also acquired Andreas Janssen, Fabian Zetterlund, Nikita Okatiuk, and Shakir Mukhamadullin. Shakir Mukhamadullin has been in a lot of my mock trades to the San Jose Sharks. This is not anything new. He was a part of that was formerly the New York Islanders selection in the first round from 2020. He was the 20th overall selection. He has been playing in the KHL with Salavat Ulava Ufa, and he's actually played quite well there. There's kind of a polarizing idea of what Mukhamadullin's potential is at the NHL level. You guys also have to remember, that 2020 NHL draft was kind of weird, right? We were remembering a draft where Arttu Räty, who was supposed to go first overall, all of a sudden ends up going in the second round of the Islanders. And, of course, we know how things have gone since then. He has since been traded to Vancouver. But 2020 was a weird draft. So even though he's a former first-round pick, it's still kind of that weird draft where a lot of guys didn't even play that year in their draft season. So it's still hard to determine and gauge how good of a player those first-round picks really are going to be. Nikita Okatiuk, I think is how you pronounce it. He has actually played a little bit with the Devils here over the past 2 seasons. He has 3 points in 15 games with the New Jersey Devils, and he's picked up 6 points in 20 games with the Utica Comets. What you're looking at with Okatiuk, I believe he was a part of the Taylor Hall trade. He's a former second-round pick back in 2019 of the New Jersey Devils. He was a 61st overall selection. They also pick up the contract of Andreas Janssen, the 28-year-old forward, a former Leafs prospect, has been with the Devils now for 3 seasons, and he's only played in 2 games with the Devils this year. He spent most of the season in Utica with the Devils farm team. So considering how things have gone there, the expectation is Andreas Janssen is kind of just a salary cap dump in this deal, as he's on the final year of his deal, of a 4-year deal with the Devils. Now, the most interesting part of this deal, I think, and the most exciting part of this deal, at the very least at this point, is Fabian Zetterlund. He's a 23-year-old Swedish forward, and he was a third-round pick back in 2017 of the New Jersey Devils. He's actually played very well with the Devils this season. He's got 6 goals, 14 assists, 20 points in 45 games with the New Jersey Devils. So this is a kid that, actually seems like he has some pretty good potential. Again, very limited sample size, but I think the Devils should be happy with, again, he's kind of going to be replaced by Timo Meier in this deal. So Fabian Zetterlund, potentially, at the very least, I think he'll end up being a middle six forward, either a second liner or a third line winger. That is what you're looking at with Fabian Zetterlund. So a good depth player for the Sharks in the future. So that's what the Sharks got. Let's take a look at what the Devils got in this deal. So the New Jersey Devils acquire a 2024 fifth-round pick from Colorado, Timur Ibragimov, Santeri Hataka, Zachary Emond, Scott Harrington, and of course, Timo Meier. So Scott Harrington is a former Pittsburgh Penguins draft pick back in the day, a former 2011 second-round pick. He's on the final year of his deal with the New Jersey Devils now. And again, all of these guys are pretty much, their deals are expiring this summer. I think it was more for the deal to work. I think that the Devils had to take on a bunch of contracts that they don't really want. And most of these guys will not be in New Jersey July 1st. Of course, the big one is Timo Meier. Timo Meier comes in at 50% salary retained from the San Jose Sharks, so his actual cap hit is $6 million AAV. $3 million will be paid this year and next from the New Jersey Devils, and $3 million this season and next from the San Jose Sharks. With that said, I like the deal. Honestly, I think this is a really good deal for the New Jersey Devils. The fact they really didn't have to give up their top 4 prospects in Luke Hughes, Simon Nemec, you could make the argument, right, Dawson Mercer, and Alexander Holtz. They didn't have to give up any of those 4 guys. That's incredible. The fact they weren't able to give up their top 2 defensive prospects and top 2 forward, quote-unquote, prospects, if you consider Mercer a prospect at this point, rookies, the fact they didn't have to give up any of those 4 guys is incredible. And it's kind of interesting because you look at, I'm going to make another video about this in a second, what Tampa Bay had to give up for Tanner Jeannot, honestly, isn't that different. When you look at the deals next to each other, honestly, as a San Jose Sharks fan, I'd be kind of underwhelmed. Considering the fact that the deal right after for Tanner Jeannot is eerily similar in terms of assets going to Nashville, I'm a little underwhelmed with the actual return. And like I said, the fact that the Devils didn't have to give up arguably their top 4 future assets with Mercer, Holtz, I thought for certain Holtz was going to be in this deal. And the fact they gave up Zetterlund instead of Holtz or Mercer, very underwhelming in my opinion. Now, again, depending on what these draft picks turn into, they're magic beans. They could end up being a first and a second, or potentially 2 pretty good first-round picks, depending on what happens. But with that said, I don't know, guys. I'm not a huge fan of this deal for the Sharks. I think they missed the boat. He's the top guy that was available at the deadline. A ton of guys moving around, but it's almost window dressing at that point. The actual players involved, I don't think a lot of them were going to be in New Jersey. So, they picked up Harrington and Emond and Hataka and Abragimov. None of those guys are going to be there. It's Timo Meier. That's the best guy in the deal. And like I said, for the Sharks, Janssen, I think there's some potential with Zetterlund. Again, so they pick up 2 good forwards in Zetterlund and Janssen. Okatiuk and Mukhamadullin, potentially good defensemen. But again, Mukhamadullin drafted in a weird draft in 2020, so he's a former first-round pick. But is he really in the grand scheme of things? This is going to be a weird one in the next couple of years. Because if these, like I said, if the Sharks end up taking some really good players in the next two drafts with these picks, and this year's draft is expected to be very, very deep. And if the Sharks really wanted to, and I think next year's draft will be very similar in terms of how deep it could be, they could potentially move that pick, if they really wanted to move up in this year's draft. And I think that's the other thing nobody's really talking about here, is if the Sharks really wanted to, they can move the Devils pick next year and turn that into a pick this year, depending on how things go. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this all plays out. At the end of the day, my storyline here, very underwhelming return for the Sharks. I would be disappointed considering all the hype that was wrapped around this deal and everything else. And for the New Jersey Devils, they get Timo Meier, $3 million on the salary. So they could still go out and get another guy like a James Van Riemsdyk, or another guy, Max Domi. I don't think the Devils are done yet. And Tom Fitzgerald, now that this deal is done, gives them even more time ahead of trade deadline day on Friday to maybe add another forward, maybe even another depth defenseman, depending on how things go. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. This is a weird one. There was a lot of pieces involved. Like I said, 6 assets going to the Devils, 7 assets going to the San Jose Sharks. For the most part, it's kind of window dressing, but it gets the deal done. A ton of conditions on those draft picks. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you guys think won this trade? And like I said, looking at the Devils now, Timo Meier, Dawson Mercer, Jesper Bratt. Now Andre Palat is a third-line winger. Like, how good the Devils have gotten here in this deal is really incredible. And they're gearing up for what is going to be an incredible first-round series between them and their crosstown Hudson River rivals, the New York Rangers. This is going to be an incredible first round. It's going to be disappointing that one of those teams is going to get kicked out in the first round, but holy cow, the Devils have loaded up in this deal. Guys, let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you again next time.